The sun was blazing when she stormed up in heels, demanding access to my pool like she owned the place. When I refused, HOA Karen whipped out her phone and called the cops. What she didn't know was that I had been waiting for this exact moment all along. That summer afternoon, I was floating peacefully in my pool, a glass of iced tea balanced on the deck. Birds were chirping, the water shimmered, and for a rare moment, life was calm. Until I heard the sharp click of heels against my driveway. There she was, Linda Whitmore, better known to everyone as HOA Karen. Sunglasses perched on her head like a crown, clipboard in hand, lips pursed like she was about to scold a child. "You can't keep this pool to yourself," she snapped, jabbing her finger toward the water. "It's community property. As HOA president, I demand access." I set my glass down slowly, looked her in the eye, and said, "No." Her jaw dropped. "Excuse me." "No," I repeated calmly. "This is my pool, on my land. You don't make the rules here." Her face turned crimson. "We'll see about that." To understand why this pool mattered so much, let me rewind. The house wasn't just some suburban home with a backyard pool. It was my parents' dream property, passed down to me when they passed away. They had built it 25 years ago, long before Linda and her HOA army arrived with their manicured lawns and endless rules. The pool wasn't just a pool. It was where I learned to swim. Where we had birthday parties, late-night summer dives, family barbecues. It was a piece of my family's soul. When I moved back after years in the city, I knew I'd protect it at all costs. But then came the HOA. At first, they were friendly enough, welcome letters, flyers about community spirit. But soon, the letters turned into fines. "Your fence is too tall." "Your shed is the wrong color." And finally, the cherry on top, "Your pool should be open for community use." That's when Linda seized her chance, strutting into power as HOA president. And now, she wanted to claim my family's pool as hers. A week after that confrontation, I found an official-looking envelope in my mailbox. Thick paper, HOA letterhead, Linda's signature at the bottom. "As president of the Clearwater Valley HOA, I hereby demand access to the pool on your property, to be used by all HOA members at designated hours." I nearly choked on my coffee. I double-checked my deed. My pool sat squarely within my private property lines. The HOA's jurisdiction ended at the street. They had no authority. So I drafted a polite but firm response: "Your request is denied. The pool is private property." The next day, Linda showed up again, clutching the letter. "You don't seem to understand," she said, trying to loom over me. "This is not optional." "Oh, I understand," I replied. "You're just wrong." Her smile dropped. She leaned in, whispering like a movie villain, "You'll regret this." I thought she was bluffing. I was wrong. The harassment started immediately. First came the fines. $200 for unauthorized pool use, $150 for improper landscaping, $300 for noise violations. Never mind that I lived alone and kept to myself. Then came the inspectors. Anonymous complaints triggered surprise visits, county code enforcement, health department, even a fire marshal. Each time, I showed them the paperwork proving I was in compliance. Each time, they shook their heads, embarrassed. One officer even whispered, "You've got a real piece of work after you." The final straw was the police. One evening, as I grilled burgers by the pool, 2 squad cars rolled up. Lights flashing. "Sir," one officer said awkwardly, "we got a trespassing call." "On my own property?" I asked, holding up my deed. They exchanged glances, muttered apologies, and left. But it was clear, Linda was escalating. She wasn't just trying to take my pool. She was trying to break me down, bury me in stress until I gave in. What she didn't realize was that I was documenting everything. Every bogus fine, every visit, every call. Piece by piece, I was building my case. And I wasn't the only one. One night at the local diner, I struck up a conversation with Tom, a single dad from 3 streets over. When I mentioned Linda, His face darkened. She fined me $500 for having my daughter's bike on the front lawn, he said bitterly. Then Rosa, an elderly neighbor, joined in. She tried to force me to cut down my shade tree. Said it blocked the aesthetic flow of the neighborhood. A young couple chimed in too. Linda had fined them for hosting a backyard barbecue, claiming it was an unauthorized gathering. Story after story poured out. Everyone had been bullied, fined, harassed. That's when I realized this wasn't just about me. Linda had been terrorizing the whole community. We formed an alliance. We started comparing letters, pooling evidence, keeping logs of every interaction. And the more we dug, the more rotten things became. The breakthrough came when Rosa handed me a folder she'd saved from her late husband. Inside were copies of HOA financial reports, meeting notes, and expense sheets. What we found was shocking. Tens of thousands of dollars were missing. Community improvement projects, listed on the reports, didn't exist. Funds had been siphoned into consulting fees and administrative costs that all traced back to Linda's personal accounts. But the real bombshell? The HOA had no claim over my pool at all. Buried in the original neighborhood charter was a clause. Properties built before the HOA's formation were exempt from communal facility claims. My house and my pool were legally untouchable. Not only had Linda been lying, but she'd been stealing. Now it wasn't just about protecting my pool. It was about exposing her. We had everything we needed: financial proof, legal documents, eyewitness testimonies. I called a meeting, inviting Linda and the entire HOA board to inspect the property and resolve the dispute once and for all. But what she didn't know was that I'd also invited local reporters, a city council member, and several fed-up neighbors armed with their own stories. The stage was set. The day of the inspection, Linda arrived smug, flanked by board members and, of course, the police. She strutted up the driveway like she owned it. "Officers," she declared loudly, "this man has refused lawful access to a community pool." Before they could respond, I stepped forward. "Actually, it's private property, and I have proof." I unrolled the original deed, complete with exemption clause. The officers studied it, nodded, and stepped back. Linda's smile faltered. Then Tom and Rosa spoke up, detailing their harassment. The young couple read off fines they'd paid that didn't match any official code. Finally, I dropped the bombshell: copies of financial records, showing thousands of dollars funneled into Linda's personal account. The reporters' cameras flashed. The council member took notes furiously. "Mrs. Whitmore," the officer said grimly, "you've got some explaining to do." Linda's face turned scarlet. She sputtered, accused everyone of lying, even screamed about conspiracies. But the evidence was undeniable. And the community had finally had enough. Within weeks, Linda was forced to resign as HOA president. An audit confirmed the missing funds. She faced charges for embezzlement and fraud. The HOA voted in new leadership, neighbors who actually cared about the community instead of bullying it. The bogus fines were erased. Harassment stopped. And for the first time in years, people smiled when they walked through the neighborhood. We celebrated with a giant pool party at my place. Kids splashed, burgers sizzled, laughter echoed across the water. As I leaned back in my chair, watching the sunset reflect off the pool's surface, I thought about all the battles, all the stress, all the nights I wondered if it was worth it. It was. Because in the end, justice wasn't just served, it was shared.